Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Jalen Fields, and this channel is for learning about ourselves and tackling uncertainty, right? Uncertain about going forward with a decision we really want to do, but we're afraid of everything else. But the point of this journey that I'm on is to help you realize that that wall of uncertainty, the opinions of others, what others might think of me, that's the motivation, right? And aiming for the highest good, aiming for the best vision you have for yourself so that you can help others around you and be a droplet in the collective consciousness. And this video series, we're breaking down Robert Greene's laws of human nature. So if you have been coming to these videos and you've already subscribed, thank you and welcome back. In this episode, we're breaking down the law of irrationality. And I'm not sure how many parts I'll go into it, but I truly believe this first law is extremely important when it comes to understanding ourselves and especially the world around us. It is about emotional contagion, guarding against the crowd. Robert Greene drops a pretty harsh truth bomb. Emotions aren't just yours. They spread like viruses, invisible but contagious. Emotions are like viruses. You can catch them through contact. In uncertain times, contagion accelerates. One spark of fear can crash markets, topple governments, or just make Twitter unbearable for 48 hours straight. And in our hyper-connected world, emotional contagion moves at Wi-Fi speed. Outrage, fear, euphoria, transmitted with a click. Crowds amplify passion until rational thought is basically left on red. If we want to move forward with clarity, we have to learn to see contagion how it is and for what it is, and not get swept into it. Because as Yeshua said in the Gnostic sense, be in the world, but not of it. Translation, you can't control the storm of feelings, but you don't have to drown in them either. So how does it work? Greene gives us the mechanics of emotional infection. His first concept is mirroring. We unconsciously copy moods, expression, tones. Why do you think you yawn when someone else yawns? Exactly. Amplification. What's small in one person becomes rage in a mob, right? Somebody can have this little thing wrong with you, or maybe just doesn't like you, and so they make up a lie, and therefore you're canceled. The loss of individuality. In a crowd, I becomes we. And self-control vanishes because we feel empowered by those around us because, oh, I'm feeling validated. I've felt alone my whole life. I've kind of been an outcast. So I'm going to go here and hone in on my emotions because there's nobody holding me back. And that's where acceleration goes. Because fear outruns reason every time. You can't calm a stampede with a TED Talk, right? I can't calm you with me talking like this if you aren't willing to put in the work, right? Nobody's coming to save you. You have to take everything that I am saying and everything everybody else is saying with a grain of salt. A grain of salt. All this is just words, energy that might help you, might. But all in all, the danger isn't in feeling emotions. It's being blind to how they spread. If you don't notice the infection, you can't resist it. Some modern examples of emotional contagions would be financial panics, like in 2008, Lehman Brothers collapses, panic selling spreads, fundamentals, who cares? Herd stampede. Social media outrage. One tweet equals outrage wildfire. People join in not because they understand the issue, but because everyone else is mad, so basically it's high school drama just with better graphics. Crowd violence and riots. Peaceful protest flips into chaos. People who would never loot alone suddenly do, because the crowd's emotion replaces individual reasoning. Why contagion feels rational in the moment? Well, here's the kicker. When you're in it, contagion feels right. If everyone's panicking, Surely they know something I don't. If the crowd's furious, I should be too. But Greene's point is brutal. The second we merge with the crowd, we lose perspective. Rationality drowns in the collective wave. I fell prey to this at one point, but at the same time, I still look back and I stand by my decision of standing out in protests. Now, I was not looting. The protests I was in, they were not, we were not looting, right? But because there had been other people doing other things, previous nights there was a curfew. And so we were protesting and we didn't go inside for curfew. And so the National Guard was called and we got tear gassed and yada, yada, yada. But collectively, we felt brave because nobody was leaving. We all stood our ground, thousands of people. And we stood strong. But we got hit with, bean bags and some BBs and some tear gas, but you get the point. The point is that we all felt each other's emotions and we fed off each other. But this is the exact opposite of what Yeshua modeled. Walking calmly through mobs that wanted him gone. He didn't catch their outrage, he held his ground. That's divine emotional immunity. And what comes to mind when I see that, when I think of that, is he spent 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. No food, no water. He had to believe and he had to have faith that his belief in the faith that he had faith in would keep him alive. And that was God. The pleroma. We'll get into that later. That being said, think of food and water, right? Not just food and water, but symbolically. In our day, maybe that food and water could be no video games, no phone, no social media, no TV, no book, none of that for 40 days. But maybe for that 40 days, you do eat food and you do drink water, but you don't partake in the extracurriculars. There's going to be new information, clear information coming through you because you're only having natural interactions with people versus doom scrolling, right? What I'm getting at is that because he spent that time in the desert alone and understood who he was, repenting from the temptations of Satan, he was able to know himself because God knew him, because he wanted to know God. And since he knew God, since he knew himself, he could discern. His spirit of discernment was strong. And it was like, that's not right. Instead of walking into this church and, being a peaceful hippie, I'm a nice guy. Yeah, you can use my church as a marketplace. No, he walked in and flipped tables. And you're probably going to hear me use that story quite a bit throughout this series because it's probably one of my favorite stories about Jesus because it's so important, because so many people are just passive and they're like, yeah, it's all right. No. That's spiritual discernment. That's emotional immunity. Moving forward, guarding against contagion is asking the question, how do we resist the pull? Well, Robert Greene lays out these tools. Step back from the crowd, literally and mentally, because distance brings clarity. We went over that in the last video. Pause before jumping in. Outrage thrives on urgency. Wait 24 hours. See what's still true, right? You get in an argument with a friend, maybe a significant other, and they say something or you say something, or maybe they bring something up and you want to talk about, they want to talk about it, you want to talk about it. But if they ask you a question and at first you feel yourself kind of, I didn't like that question. Why did they ask that question? I feel like you start feeling yourself get heated. Be like, let's talk about this later. But for now, let's do this. Or for now, I'm going to go do this. It has nothing to do with you. I just want to give you a rational answer. Some people see that as weak, but that is not weak. That is strength. That is complete grounded strength. And moving on, you seek independent data, right? Independent data. What do I actually know for certain? And that's why you step back. That's why you pause before joining into a crowd, before adding on to a conversation, because you're able to think about it. And if you can't get to the bottom of it, then you can be like, well, I guess I can stand in my principles and have liberty and integrity and prudence and not assume that they're trying to hurt me, but I can at least say, hey, I don't know about that, but this is where I stand. Because your principles don't change as fast as moods. All of that develops emotional immunity. Journaling, meditation, and prayer, right? You go through all those steps. Step back from the crowd, pause before joining in, seek independent data, anchor in principles, and you develop emotional immunity. You look through your journals, think about the meditation, or actually meditate and pray while you're meditating. Talk with God on a walk. Because the more you observe your emotions, the harder it is for the crowd to hijack you. And sure, it might feel like they don't like me right now. That's okay. You know who likes you? I like you. I don't know you. Of course I don't know you. But I can at least sit down and have a conversation with you, right? If I disagree with you, I disagree with some of my friends on things. But guess what? We're still friends. And you can think of all this like a spiritual vaccine. Because the Gnostic Christ idea, remember, is this: awaken to what's real. Don't just mirror what's loud, what's outside of you. Logo cuts through noise. Logos cuts through noise. The voice of reason cuts through noise. And the pneuma steadies the heart. The spirit that stays still steadies the heart. I used to do this. I would see something and I'd be like, other people are doing that. I'm going to get instant gratification so I can get more views for my music or my YouTube videos so I can get famous. And it's like, that's not it though, right? And I'm glad I had to follow the steps in my own journey to find out how to sit still and put myself into a position within the military. By the way, when I'm talking about my military journey, I'm not telling people to go and join the military. But if you want to, then go do your research. But the military helped me sit still because I needed something to help me sit still. And I'm grateful for that. And being able to sit still in some of the most chaotic moments in my life is something I am grateful to God for. See, Greene isn't telling us to become emotionless robots. His rational ideal is disciplined clarity. When contagion swirls, mobs shouting, markets crashing, comment sections melting down, the rational individual sees the wave but doesn't drown in it. The only antidote is awareness. Awareness equals sovereignty. In Gnostic terms, it's the Christ light within that lets you stand still while the crowd is losing its mind. It's why Christ was able to just take all the whips, all the beatings, have his body broken and hung on a cross and say, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. Pretty deep, right? In Gnostic terms, I know I keep saying Gnostic, and maybe the next video series I'll break it down some more, but Gnostic was the early Christians before Catholicism, and there's a word called gnosis, and gnosis is knowing. You know Christ through gaining knowledge, this and that, and you see the esoteric world. You see the inner world of everything else around you. And what I mean by that is exactly what this book is, right? We are gaining gnosis by understanding our own nature because it wasn't taught to us in school, because we had militarized education systems built because the Rockefellers, let me say it loud so they can hear me, because they don't want thinkers, right? They didn't want thinkers. They wanted robots. They wanted factory workers. Point is, awareness equals sovereignty, and sovereignty means you rise above it all or drown in your own shit. The conclusion: standing apart. History rewards the ones who resist contagion. Leaders who stay calm when everyone panics, investors who hold steady while others sell, individuals who think while others scream. To guard against contagion is to claim sovereignty over your mind. In uncertain times, it's not enough to blend in with the crowd. Rationality demands you stand apart, not out of ignorance, not out of arrogance, but discipline. The lesson is simple, but urgent. In the eye of the storm, your primary mission is clarity. Look, you have two eyes to look around at things, but you have one eye to see the information, to see what they actually mean, the symbols, the words, the tone in people's voices, the sounds in music, the visuals in a movie, the art from an artist. Those who have eyes, let them see. And those who have ears, let them hear. Or, in Yeshua's words, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Free from the crowd, free from contagion, and free to actually see. Thanks for watching. Hit that like, subscribe button, comment, engage. Let me know what you thought about the video. Tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. I can fine tune things over here and we'll go from there. Hope to see you around. I'll catch you on the flip side.